Another 29 kilometers to Pang. But I don't feel very good. Feeling a lot dizzy, giddy, breathless, not able to concentrate around the corners. Feel like I'll fall off. I think it's the altitude. Anyway, just stop to take one more DIamox and Lasix. I hope I'll be alright. Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. So the Ladakh season is almost here and every biker out there is preparing their bikes, doing all the modifications, buying riding gears to prepare themselves for their dream trip. But there's one thing that many people tend to forget or even ignore and not take necessary precautions to prevent from happening, and that's something called Acute Mountain Sickness, or AMS as we call it. Being a doctor myself, even though I knew what AMS is and even though I took all the necessary tablets to prevent it or treat it, I never thought it as something serious and something common until it affected me to a point where I thought I'm going to die. I'll walk you through the story of what happened and share with you some basic knowledge, tips and tricks to prevent it and treat it if it occurs to you. Last year, August, I took this trip to Ladakh and Kashmir. If you haven't seen that already, I will leave the link of the playlist in the I button above. It was one of the biggest trips that I took, and I should share a life-changing trip altogether. So what happened is, on the day 9 of the trip, I think, I was supposed to go from Manali to Leh. In between, I had to halt at Pang, stay for the night, and next day head to Leh. So as I ascended from Manali on towards Pang, around I think around 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon, there's something called as Gata loops. So soon after I ascended the Gata loops, I started feeling a little bit dizzy. I was feeling very uneasy, a little bit breathless, and a lot tired, and I couldn't concentrate on the road. I felt like losing balance. Everything was going blur kind of feeling was there. I didn't know whether that was AMS. I knew what the symptoms of AMS were, but when it was happening to me, I couldn't recognize whether it was AMS or not, because I thought generally I might be tired from all the journey, because throughout the 9 days of riding, only one entire day I rested in Manali. So I thought generally my body would have given up. I would have been, it was just the tiredness that I'm feeling. So I kept on riding a little bit ahead, and that's a video clip that you saw in the beginning where I stopped by the road and I was explaining what I was feeling. I was feeling breathless, tired, giddy, a little bit of headache was there. So I didn't recognize it, and as usual, but to be on the safer side, I took a DIamox and a little bit of road ahead, and I saw a certain group of people, 3 or 4 riders, sitting on the roadside. Till then, throughout these Gata loops, I didn't come across any rider over there, and all I saw was trucks passing by. So I stopped by these riders, and I went over to them and I asked them, guys, why did you halt here? So all of them were telling, we are experiencing AMS. So I was like, okay, what are you guys experiencing? So all of them had the same symptom that I had. So they all had headache. They were all feeling giddy. They were all feeling breathless, and they were all feeling uneasy and tired. All a group of symptoms. I said I'm also experiencing the same thing. So they all said, okay, we'll wait here for some time, at least for 20-30 minutes. Stay here. Let us calm down. Let us get better and then ascend. So I waited with them, and all of them took DIamox. And because I was feeling a lot breathless, I took a Lasix tablet as well. And I felt a little bit better, and then we all continued. So I went along with them in the group, because I didn't want to end up alone and falling sick in the middle of nowhere. And it was getting late. So we reached Pang around 5 in the evening. and there was a big group in Pang. They were all going to camp over there, so there were some Kannadigas also, so I talked to them. We all had Maggie and all that stuff. So as the evening progressed, I started feeling uncomfortable more and more. But I thought like company is there, so let's chill. Even if I fall sick, people are there and all that stuff. And in Pang, I remember after reaching Pang, I had a bout of loose motion also. I didn't know what was happening, but I thought I might be getting food poisoning, but I didn't have anything of like street food or something like that from Manali when I was staying there. And because I was very careful that I am traveling, I should eat only hygienic food. So I was wondering why am I getting food poisoning, but there is no other symptom of food poisoning like stomach pain or vomiting or anything like that, just diarrhea, just loose stools. So I was like, okay, fine. Somehow I managed to go to a public toilet, and for those who've been to Pang, you know there is no toilet facility, proper toilet facility and all that stuff. Around 6 o'clock, because the sunlight was still there, daylight was there, the whole group that I was traveling with decided to move ahead. They told that they will camp at the next village that they see so that they can reach Leh earlier the next day. I initially thought I will accompany them because I will have company, I'll have help in case if I need it. But I started feeling very sick to a point where few steps I was taking and I was feeling breathless, I was feeling giddy, and I started feeling nausea. So I thought the whole Maggie bowl I ate might come out. I might throw up the whole Maggie bowl and all that. So I started getting tense, and the whole group left. I knew that if I started riding again, I wouldn't be able to go another 5 or 10 kilometers and I would give up. So Pang, because of the village, the locals are there, so I thought I'll stay back. And I was planning to pitch my own tent because I had my own tent. So I scouted for area to pitch my own tent. But I couldn't walk, I could barely walk. I was feeling breathless, giddy, headache, nausea. I was feeling a lot tired. I couldn't even carry my own luggage. I thought I'll anytime collapse. So it was getting severe. So I asked the local that, do you have any tents available? So he showed me his private tent. He charged me 200 rupees for it per night. So I thought, okay, it's okay, I'll take it. Then I asked him for help to park my bike also. So he helped me out, park my bike. I remember taking all the luggage and putting inside the tent. I was so breathless, I was so giddy and drowsy, and I was about to throw up. I remember taking one more DIamox and one more Lasix tablet, chewing it and just swallowing with my own saliva, and I just fell on the bed inside the tent with all my riding gears on, with all the riding jacket, riding pant, riding boots, riding gloves, everything is on except for the helmet, and everything I kept inside the tent, and I just lied down there. And towards I think 6:30, 7 o'clock, I started feeling very breathless, and I started panicking, and I wanted to call somebody, but there's no network coverage over there. And I started shouting for that guy who was the owner of the tent. I started screaming "Bhaiya, Bhaiya," but the voice, nothing was coming out of my mouth. There was no voice. So all the more I got shocked and panicked, and I started crying. I was like, done, this is it, this is how I'll go. But so the whole, like how they say, the whole life starts flashing in front of your eyes, right from your school days and all to college days and the work and all, job and all that stuff, friends, family, everything. So I started remembering all that, and I started crying, and in between I remember that Bhaiya coming to me and asking that if I wanted any dinner or not. So I think I told I need something, and then he walked up. That's all I remember, and I passed out. And the next thing I remember is waking up with severe pain in the legs at 2 o'clock in the night. So I didn't even, what the Bhaiya told me next day is, he came with the dinner and tried to wake me up, but I was in deep sleep, so he didn't disturb me and went off, is what he says. So 2 o'clock I woke up in the night with severe leg pain because my socks and everything was wet. And because of that, and temperatures dropped down there to 3 degrees, 4 degrees and all. I had to remove all the boots in the middle of the night, but then when I woke up at 2 o'clock, the breathing difficulty, the headache, the giddiness had come down. So I knew I was feeling better, so I changed the socks, everything. I put a blanket over my head, and long story short, I survived survived to tell you the story, and then got up next day and to a flat tire, and then I had to change it, and the whole story happened. So you can watch that video up here. So that's what happened to me. That's my experience with acute mountain sickness. That's when I knew this is something serious, and if not treated or if not prevented, can be fatal, and which can lead to your dream trip being cancelled or postponed or whatnot. So I am here to tell you what is AMS, what are the symptoms, how you can prevent it, and if it happens to you, how you can treat it. Now, what is AMS? What is acute mountain sickness? So acute mountain sickness is a group of symptoms that you are likely to experience when you ascend to a level above 8,000 feet above sea level. When it progresses to breathing difficulty, it is known as high altitude pulmonary edema or HAPE, and when it progresses further to confusion, lethargy, and finally coma, it is called as high altitude cerebral edema, which is called as HACE. HAPE and HACE is life-threatening, and if not treated immediately, you are dead. AMS is still manageable, but if it progresses to HAPE and HACE, it is very life-threatening and requires urgent medical care. So how does AMS happen? At altitudes more than 8,000 feet above sea level, the pressure of oxygen is very less. So that you need a certain amount of oxygen pressure in the atmosphere for it to dissolve from air into your lungs. When that goes down beyond a certain limit, your body will try to acclimatize a little bit to a certain extent to make up for the lack of oxygen by doing so many things like adjusting the lung parameters or the heart parameters to give as much as oxygen required to your rest of the body. But beyond a certain point, the body cannot do it, so it will make you sick. That is what is called as acute mountain sickness. The common symptoms of acute mountain sickness are like headache, giddiness, blurring of vision, lack of concentration, feeling severely tired, fatigue, and diarrhea, loose motion, nausea, stomach pain. Because body doesn't have enough oxygen to digest your food, that's when you get all these gastrointestinal symptoms like diarrhea, vomiting, and nausea and all that stuff. So these are the common symptoms that you face in AMS when you ascend above 8,000 feet above sea level. At this point, if you don't treat it or if you don't take enough measures to prevent it, it can further progress to high altitude pulmonary edema, where because decrease in further oxygen level or oxygen pressure can lead to fluid from your blood vessel seeping onto the lungs, because there is not much pressure to keep the fluid off your lungs. That balance is not maintained, and all the fluid will seep into the lungs, and basically you are drowning in your own fluids. So that is called high altitude pulmonary edema, and that will lead to breathing difficulty, breathlessness. A lot of people experience that. HAPE is life-threatening. If not treated urgently, it can lead to multiple complications. Further ahead, if HAPE is again left untreated, it can further lead to HACE, that's called high altitude cerebral edema, where you will not even realize that you are having a sickness. Basically, you will be confused. Some people throw hallucinations, and it will further progress into lethargy, drowsiness, and even lead to coma. So someone around you only can recognize HACE, you yourself cannot recognize HACE. If HACE is not treated, then and there itself, it is very life-threatening, and it can result in death. HACE is basically just like pulmonary edema. Just like fluid in your lungs, it is basically fluid in your brain. The skull is a tight, compact space. So when fluid gets accumulated in the brain, it'll compress the brain, causing brain to malfunction. And if not treated then and there itself, it can be fatal. I'm not going to get into the details of how it affects and basically the pathophysiology of it, because it is beyond the scope of this video. So this is basically the general idea of how it affects the lungs, the brain and the body in general. What all are the symptoms for you to recognize it at early stages itself. So coming to prevention of AMS, first we'll talk about the prevention rather than treating it, because as we all know, prevention is way better than cure. AMS happens at altitudes higher than 8,000 feet above sea level. Till 8,000, the human body is able to handle any altitude change that happens. So beyond 8,000 feet also, the human body is very much capable in handling the altitude difference and the reduction in oxygen pressure. The only matter or only factor that comes in is time. So the body needs a little bit of time to make all the physiological changes in its cardiovascular system and all other systems to cope up with the less oxygen pressure that you have at high altitudes. So you should check the altitude of the place that you're going into the next day. You can look up on the internet at what altitude that town is in, or what altitude that city or the village that you're planning to go the next day or the coming week is in. If the place that you're going to is above 8,000 feet, the best thing that you can do is stay at the lowest altitude possible for 24 to 48 hours at least. So people who are going from Manali to Leh, Manali is located around 8,000 feet above sea level. So you should stay in Manali for at least 24 to 48 hours. 48 hours would be ideal for you to stay in Manali or any lowest possible place. Ideally, textbook wise, what they say is you should not climb more than 2,000 feet per day. So even though you're staying at 8,000 feet for 24 to 48 hours, ideally, in a perfect world, you should not ascend more than 10,000 feet in the first 24 hours. And maximum you can ascend is 4,000 feet above sea level in the first 24 hours. So from Manali, if you're staying at a place like Manali, just at 8,000 feet above sea level, the maximum to maximum you can ascend in one day is 12,000 feet above sea level. So if you stick to these norms, there are very less chances of you experiencing AMS. So many people who have advised me, who will tell you, who has traveled to Ladakh, they'll always tell you that take the route from Srinagar to Kargil to Leh, because the ascent is very gradual. You will be ascending less than 4,000 feet every day. So you'll get enough time to get acclimatized, and the chances of you experiencing AMS symptoms are very less. But I was on a tight schedule and I didn't have initial plans to go to Kashmir. I had plans to go to Spiti and later I had to cancel it because of the landslide. So my itinerary was to go from Manali to Pang. Now the thing is, from Manali to Pang, it's a steep ascent from 8,000 feet to 15,000 feet above sea level. So somewhere or the other, you are bound to experience at least a mild symptoms of AMS. That's what happened to me. So because you are climbing from 8,000 to 15,000 feet, that is way more than the permissible limit of 4,000 feet per day. You need to take necessary precautions to avoid it completely. Second thing to avoid AMS is hydration. Drink a lot of water, as much as possible. I cannot stress you enough the importance of hydration. How hydration helps, it's a vast topic on its own. You need a lot of water in your body to keep up with the balance of pressures. So you need to stay hydrated as much as possible. Now you might tell me that when you're traveling to a remote location like this, toilet is an issue. Yes, when you're hydrating yourself well, you will need to go to the loo most often. That is why, especially for women, it is always recommended to travel as a group, so that you will have someone to watch over you when you are going a little bit far from the road to relieve yourself. Better than going solo, it is better to go with a group. I mean, even if you are a solo traveler like how I went, find a local group, go ahead with a group that you find on the way, and so that you can help each other out in case you need help. Don't worry about the toilet availability and the issues like that. Hydrate yourself as much as possible. I used to drink around 4 to 5 liters every day. I'm used to drinking 4 to 5 liters every day. I carry 6 liters of water in my saddle bag and the front bottle and poacher. Drink as much as water possible and hydrate yourself as much as possible. That is the second mode of prevention. The third step to preventing AMS is by taking DIamox tablets. Now, DIamox or acetazolamide is a carbonic anhydrase inhibitor. It basically reduces, the fluid accumulation that happens in your brain and happens in lungs and all that stuff by a lot of biochemical reactions. I don't want to get into that now. It will help you in acclimatizing faster. So, especially when you know that you will be climbing more than 4,000 feet per day, it is better to take 250 mg of DIamox tablet either the night before or the morning that you're traveling, or both. I think when I stayed in Manali, the night before I was supposed to start to Leh, I took a DIamox tablet, and that morning also I took a DIamox tablet, that is 250 mg. Before taking all these tablets, please consult a doctor. Before taking the trip itself, I would highly recommend you to consult a family doctor to know the dosage of those tablets according to your body weight and all that. So you can take up to 250 mg twice a day of DIamox and prevent AMS. When you know that you are climbing more than 4,000 feet per day, take DIamox. One other thing people often misunderstand is that they think AMS affects people who are not fit. So in order to beat AMS, they start going to the gym or do some sort of cardio like running and all that 6 months prior to taking this trip and all. Well, all that's fine, all that's good for your body and general health, but I hate to break it to you that fitness level doesn't matter in AMS. The AMS has nothing to do with your fitness level. It's all about the genetic makeup of an individual. Some people who might be very fit will be more prone to develop AMS simply because of the genetic makeup. Some people who are not fit at all, obese, or having habits like smoking and all, will not experience anything, again because of the genetic makeup. I consider myself to be a very fit individual, but still I developed severe AMS, while I've seen people who are smoking in Pang and all that, chilling and having no symptoms at all. So AMS doesn't depend upon your fitness level at all. It's basically how the body reacts at high altitudes. It's a nature of the body purely based on genetics. So being fit will not help in preventing AMS. Now, coming to the treatment aspect of AMS, in case you develop AMS, you have symptoms of AMS, the first thing you need to do is stop. You should stop climbing. Whether it is trekking or biking or anything, you should stop ascending the altitude. First thing to do is hydrate yourself. Just wait it out. Take one DIamox tablet. Just wait for like half an hour or maybe like 1 or 2 hours. And then if you feel better, climb ahead. If it is worsening, if it is coming to a point where you feel you cannot go ahead, start climbing down. You should descend from wherever you are, and that is the mainstay of acute mountain sickness. In any textbook, in any medical references you read, the first day of treatment of acute mountain sickness or a high altitude pulmonary edema or a high altitude cerebral edema, anything, is descending, because you need oxygen pressure to come back to for the body to be normal. Or you should have oxygen cylinders and all that stuff, and I don't think anybody who's going to Ladakh and all will have oxygen cylinders and carrying around them. So the first thing you need to do is stop wherever you are, but take rest there, be there, take DIamox, be there for a few hours. If you feel better, continue riding. If you don't feel better, come down, get acclimatized, stay at a lower altitude for a day or two again, and then only ascend. It is better to consult your doctor beforehand and have a treatment protocol for AMS. Like if you are experiencing simple symptoms of AMS, DIamox is well enough for you. 250 mg tablet once or twice a day will help. And if you are feeling breathless, breathing difficulty is there, then the main thing to do is stop ascending, halt wherever you are, camp wherever you are, or if it is getting severe, come down and stay at a lower altitude. Take Lasix or Nifedipine. Again, I wouldn't suggest Nifedipine because it can cause hypotension, and if your baseline BP is already low, it will cause further hypotension, and that can lead to a series of complications. I am already on hypertensive and I am already on antihypertensive, so I didn't want to risk it, so I didn't take Nifedipine, but I took Lasix. Lasix is basically a diuretic which will make you pee out all the excess fluid that is accumulated in your body. So it also has its dosage 20, 40, 80 and all that. So it is better to consult your doctor and know the dosage according to your body weight. For me, I took 20 mg of Lasix twice, so that helped a little bit in relieving my breathing difficulty. So that's the next stage. When you develop HAPE, that's the next thing to do. If you are developing HACE, that is high altitude cerebral edema, most of the times you may not recognize it because you will be confused, you will be disoriented, you will be having hallucinations. People around you might recognize it. So it's better to educate the people around you, the group that you're traveling with, if it is people known to you, that these are the symptoms of AMS, HAPE and HACE, and if any of you guys notice that I am getting HACE, or if I notice any of you guys are getting HACE, this is what we'll do. We'll stop wherever we are, or we'll ascend down, we'll seek help, and we'll take all these necessary actions and all that. And HACE, the treatment again differs. DIamox and Nifedipine and Lasix will not be enough. They will require Dexamethasone, which is a steroid, and they will require oxygen cylinders and for oxygen supply and all that. If you are stuck in a worst case scenario with no one around you, all alone, or only 2-3 members in a group, and you don't have oxygen supply or anything, I think in Ladakh basically the army is very helpful. Or even the locals are helpful. Flag down an army truck that is passing by, they'll keep passing by very often, and most of the times they will have oxygen supply and oxygen cylinders and all that. So you can flag down an army truck. I've seen people doing that, and they're and asking for help, and they are like very, very helpful people. They help civilians a lot during those tourist times. So, or better, if you don't want to do that, carry an oxygen cylinder with you. You will get it in Manali itself, portable small oxygen cylinder with you. One cylinder would be enough, I think, to get until you get to a nearby medical center or until you get help. So carry oxygen cylinder with you so that you can escape this severity of HACE or HAPE. If you've already experienced AMS, those people are prone to experience it again. Like I have already experienced AMS, and if I go to Ladakh next time, I am very prone to experience it again, and in a much severe form. So that's a bad thing about AMS. People who are genetically susceptible to develop AMS are much more prone to develop in a more severe form the second time when you go to a higher altitude. So best thing to do is to get acclimatized, stay at the lowest altitude possible for 24 to 48 hours. Don't ascend more than 4,000 feet per day. Carry supplemental oxygen. Carry DIamox, Lasix, and worst case scenario carry Dexamethasone also, and seek medical help if you need. And in case you develop severe symptoms, the first thing to do is descend to a lower altitude, to lower village, a lower town, halt there, camp there, get medical attention if needed. Why I am saying all this to you is not to scare you or not to discourage you from going there. It is that these small things that we often tend to neglect and often tend to not care about or worry about, these things can actually be detrimental to your trip. It can halt you right in your tracks and prevent you from enjoying the trip to the fullest, prevent you from moving ahead. It can alter your schedules, alter your timeline, alter your itinerary. It can ruin everything. It can ruin all the full fun of the trip. It can affect you so much mentally, physically, and emotionally, and money wise also. You might lose a lot of money in case you have to travel back to a lower point and then extend your itinerary and all that stuff. So to this, AMS is preventable to its core. You don't have to experience it at all if you take the necessary precautions. If you put a little bit of buffer days, 2-3 days of buffer days to stay at a high altitude place, get acclimatized, and then move ahead. So to all the riders out there who are thrilled to go to Ladakh for the first time, don't get stuck just because of AMS. Take all the necessary precautions for you to escape it, so that you can enjoy this trip to its fullest. You can enjoy Ladakh, what it has to offer. So that's it for today's video. I hope you guys liked it. I hope you guys found some value in it. See you next Saturday with another one. Bye bye.